I stood at my father's funeral, feeling out of place. I just wanted to say goodbye, but my mother's cold eyes made me feel like I didn't belong. "The inheritance is for your brother," she snapped. Her voice was harsh, full of anger. My brother stood beside her, smirking. "Leave. Give up the inheritance and disappear," he added, his words sharp and hurtful. I didn't care about the money, but his cruel smile bothered me. Why did he want me gone so badly? I agreed to leave, but something felt wrong. I couldn't shake the feeling. As I walked away from the funeral, cold wind brushed my face. I tried to convince myself that the inheritance didn't matter. I never wanted it anyway. But questions kept circling in my mind. Why did they hide Dad's illness from me? Why were they so desperate to keep me away from the inheritance? It wasn't just about money. There was something they didn't want me to find out. I pushed the thoughts away, trying to forget. But the more I tried, the stronger the uneasy feeling grew. I knew I couldn't ignore it for long. I remembered my childhood, how my brother Kevin was always the favorite. He was smart, charming, and loved by everyone. Mom praised him constantly, calling him her genius boy. I was just the quiet daughter, always in his shadow. Kevin knew how to get what he wanted. He was charming on the outside, but selfish on the inside. I used to ignore his bad side, thinking it was just sibling rivalry. But now, his smirk at the funeral haunted me. Maybe I didn't know my brother as well as I thought. Maybe he was hiding something. Days passed, but the questions wouldn't go away. I decided to call Aunt Lisa, hoping she knew more. Her voice was hesitant, almost nervous. "Your dad wanted to see you before he died, but your mother didn't allow it," she whispered. I felt a lump in my throat. Dad wanted to see me? Why would Mom keep that from me? "She said it was better for the family," Aunt Lisa added, her voice filled with guilt. I felt cold all over. What was Mom trying to hide? Why did she lie to me? I needed answers. I went to see Dad's lawyer, Mr. Thompson. He looked surprised when I walked into his office. "I was wondering when you'd come," he said softly. He handed me a letter, his eyes sad. It was from Dad. His handwriting was shaky but familiar. My hands trembled as I opened it. "I'm sorry, Jenny. There are things you need to know. Be careful who you trust, especially Kevin," the letter warned. My heart raced. What did Dad mean? Why would he warn me about my own brother? The pieces didn't add up. The letter mentioned debts and secrets Dad had tried to hide. He wrote about money troubles he got into, but he also wrote about Kevin. "Kevin isn't who you think he is," Dad wrote. "He's been lying to everyone, even me." I couldn't believe it. Kevin always acted so perfect, so responsible. But if Dad's words were true, then everything was a lie. Was this why they wanted me away from the inheritance? To hide Kevin's secrets? My head was spinning. I needed to know the truth, even if it hurt. I started looking through Dad's old papers, searching for clues. It didn't take long to find them. Bank statements with missing money, loans Dad took out but never spent. My heart sank as the truth came into focus. Kevin was using Dad. He was taking Dad's money to pay off his own debts. Gambling debts. I felt sick. Kevin wasn't just selfish, he was dangerous. I understood now why Dad warned me. Kevin wasn't just protecting the inheritance, he was protecting himself. But how far would he go to keep his secrets hidden? I went back to Mr. Thompson and showed him what I found. His face grew serious as he looked over the papers. "Your father suspected this," he admitted. But he was scared of what Kevin might do. I shivered. Kevin had always been spoiled, but he was also clever, manipulative. He could charm his way out of any situation, but this time I had proof. I felt anger burning inside me. Kevin thought he could get away with everything. He thought I was weak. But I wasn't a scared little girl anymore. I was ready to fight back. I needed more evidence. I visited my childhood home, pretending to make peace. Kevin welcomed me with fake smiles, pretending everything was fine. But his eyes were cold, watching me closely. "You really gave up the inheritance? That was smart," he said, his voice sweet but mocking. I forced myself to smile. "I don't need the money," I lied. His smile widened, but his eyes were suspicious. I had to play my part carefully. I couldn't let him know I was onto him. Not yet. Inside the house, I saw how different things were. Expensive furniture, gadgets Dad could never afford. "I invested well," Kevin bragged. I bit my tongue, holding back the anger. It wasn't his money, it was Dad's. He was spending Dad's hard-earned money without guilt. I looked around, searching for more clues. That's when I saw it. A folder on the desk labeled loans. My heart skipped a beat. If I could just see what was inside, maybe I could finally prove Kevin's lies. But how could I get to it without him noticing? Luck was on my side. Kevin's phone rang, and he went to the other room to answer it. I quickly opened the folder, my hands shaking. Inside were documents showing Dad's debts. But one paper caught my eye. A loan agreement with Dad's signature. But the handwriting wasn't his. It was forged. My mouth went dry. Kevin had faked Dad's signature to steal money. He didn't just lie, he committed fraud. I took pictures of the documents, my heart pounding. I knew then that Kevin wasn't just selfish, he was a criminal. As I closed the folder, Kevin's voice echoed behind me. "What are you doing?" My heart stopped. I turned slowly, forcing a smile. "I was just looking at Dad's things," I said, trying to sound casual. His eyes narrowed, his smile fading. "Nosy as always, huh?" His voice was cold, threatening. I felt trapped. He took a step closer, his face hard. "You should have stayed away," he warned. My chest tightened with fear. He knew I was on to him. I had to get out before things got worse. I tried to keep calm. "I just wanted to remember Dad," I said, backing away. Kevin's eyes were cold, calculating. "You always ruin things," he muttered. His voice was low and dangerous. I felt a chill run down my spine. Kevin wasn't just angry. He was furious. "You're not going to ruin this for me," he snapped. I realized then how far he would go to protect his lies. I needed to leave before he did something crazy. But his eyes followed my every move, like a predator watching its prey. I made a run for it. I rushed out of the house, my heart pounding. I heard Kevin shout behind me, his footsteps close. I pushed myself to run faster, my fear giving me strength. I reached my car and jumped inside, locking the doors just in time. Kevin banged on the window, his face twisted with rage. I started the engine and sped away, my hands shaking. My phone buzzed with a message from him. "If you tell anyone, you're dead." My blood ran cold. He wasn't just dangerous, he was deadly. I knew I couldn't face him alone. I went straight to Mr. Thompson, showing him the pictures I took. His face turned pale. "We need to report this," he said. I nodded. Kevin had lied, stolen, and threatened me. He needed to be stopped. I was scared, but I couldn't let him get away with it. Not anymore. Dad tried to protect me, but now it was my turn to protect his legacy. I took a deep breath, preparing for the fight ahead. I looked at the road ahead, my fear replaced by determination. Kevin had controlled us long enough. It was time to end his lies. He thought he could scare me into silence, but he was wrong. I was stronger than he knew. The truth was on my side, and I wouldn't stop until justice was served.